All right. So we watched both the pre-K through second video and the 9 through 12 video. So since I teach pre-K through second, I'm going to provide the feedback to Monica as the teacher. So I will be giving the feedback for pre-K through second. And then Monica will do, since she's a high school teacher, will be giving the feedback for the 9 through 12th grade to me as the teacher. So I'll go ahead and start for the pre-K through second. So first of all, I really loved the tone of voice with your students. You varied it to show excitement, positivity, and I think that the kids really reacted well to that. You kind of got on their level and made the lesson really exciting for them. So I just loved just initially the way you just talk to them and relate to them in that way. So that was a really positive aspect that I noticed when you were teaching. I also really liked the use of like multimedia. You were using the videos, the projector. The kids had their own individual whiteboards that they were able to write on. So you used a lot of different multimedia tools, which I think are really help with the students' learning, and they're really engaging as well. I do like the idea and the use of those popsicle sticks as you pull out to call on a student to give their answer. One recommendation I could think of for that technique would be just for kids who might be nervous or anxious or don't know the answer, that might be something that could be stressful to them, sitting there in their desk thinking, oh, I don't know the answer, I hope she doesn't pick me, like, don't pick me, don't pick me, don't pick me. So that's just one suggestion. Or if you do pick that person, give them a little bit more time to think of their answer or come up with something. So I like the technique of the popsicle stick, but that would be my recommendation for that.
Right, that's true. Sometimes I do notice that my students are a little quiet when I ask the question. So giving them a little time would be good. Thanks for the suggestion.
Yeah, and see how it works. And if it doesn't work, go back to what you've been used to and what works for you, but it might be something worth giving a try.
Mhm.
I do like, though, that if they don't give you a right answer, you give them another option to think about it, look at their notes, kind of figure out if they can talk through it with you to get that right answer. And you always, if they give you a right answer, you gave them, your reaction to it was positive. You didn't make them feel like they, were dumb for giving the wrong answer or that they didn't get it. You made sure and you told them specifically that getting the wrong answer is helping the rest of the class. So I really liked that and made them feel that if it's okay to not have all the answers. So I really liked that technique of yours too. I like your use of open-ended questions. You didn't just give them a chance to say yes, no, I don't know. You were asking them open-ended questions that also got them thinking and made them, give you an answer and think about the topic. One other thing I would just encourage is a little bit more group collaboration. You did do the group project with the amphibians, reptiles, fish, where they were able to work together in that sense. But there was a lot of independent time also, and I would just try to think of maybe other ways to encourage or come up with another group activity, whether it be they work on a worksheet together, or maybe because we were talking about, what do fish have, what do reptiles have, what do amphibians have, maybe like a crossword or something of that sort that they could work on together.
That's true. I've noticed that when I do make them work together, they do get a little bossy. So maybe giving them more opportunities to work on those skills would be beneficial just for even the class to run smoothly.
Yeah, and with the younger age group, there are some that, try to be a little bit bossier, take the lead, but, teaching them to work together and collaborate is definitely something that will help them in the future.
Yeah.
And then I noticed, and we kind of discussed it, that this was a topic that you had discussed with them and gone over with them at some point previously, but for whatever reason, it just seemed like some of them weren't quite getting it or still had more questions. So I would just, before jumping into this new lecture, do a review, maybe go back a little bit, focus more on to make sure that they had the understanding of this topic. There were a lot that completely got it and it was not an issue, but it did seem like there were some who had forgotten certain things, like, what do reptiles have? What do birds have? Feathers, gills, all that stuff. So maybe just a quick review and then jump back into the topic so that you make sure that they've understood the topic that you're going to be discussing here for the rest, because one thing leads to the next. You want to make sure that you don't lose anybody.
Right.
But other than that, I think you did great. I love that you were so positive. You did an overview. You gave everyone a chance to answer the questions. Gave them chances to fix their mistakes. Reminded them that if they did make a mistake, it was okay. Everyone makes mistakes and it helps the class. So overall, I think you did a really great job, and I loved experiencing that and the positivity in your classroom.
Well, thank you. Appreciate all of your positive feedback and your constructive criticism.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right, and I will switch, and then Monica will give me her feedback. All right, go for it.
All right, so thanks for having me in your class. And what I did enjoy about how you started the class was that you were very organized. You had all of the student materials already on the desk for them. I did notice that you had a big class, so that would just be a great time saver and just a quick save of a headache. So that was great. I like that you started the class reviewing the class rules and expectations before you even started a project, because all of those things would come into handy that day. You also introduced the 5-second countdown, which you use throughout the class, but just something that I noticed is that when you use a countdown or anything like that, you should be a little bit more consistent with it. I noticed that you switched back to physically, like putting your hand on your mouth or telling them be quiet instead of using the countdown more times. If you don't use it consistently, it may not stick, and it may not be as effective as you want it to be throughout the semester.
Yeah, I definitely have thought about that, and I like the countdown, but you're right. I do need to be more consistent with it and set those clear expectations of what could happen if that countdown, they aren't quiet by that countdown. But yeah, using that across the board, I definitely want to try to work on that.
Yeah, which also leads me into that I did think you did a great job by including the students in your rule making and the consequence making. You They were really receptive to it and they were all choosing, but one thing I would kind of change about that is that they ended up choosing the consequence of having to sing or dance a song in front of the class. You might just want to be a little bit careful with how a student may react to that, or how maybe their culture wouldn't allow them to be that outgoing. So maybe giving like a second option or like an alternative. If you don't want to do that one, then you would just have to stay in class after for 5 minutes or something, just to be a little bit more respectful to them. Um, I also like that you were very organized with your PowerPoint presentation. One thing I would just maybe suggest is that since you are teaching an ESL class, maybe a little bit more of a visual with your PowerPoint presentation, just to kind of back up what you're saying, just in case they don't understand completely the words or even just reading them. Yeah.
That's a really good idea. I didn't even really think of that. I definitely will add more of the visual aspect, because I know I'm a visual person too, so that's definitely helpful.
Yeah, and it did seem like they were engaged in the class throughout, but maybe also giving them a little bit more of an opportunity to share out or to have more of a dialogue with you would be great, maybe especially for an ESL class. And I do like that after you gave your instructions, you did give them a visual example of your own presentation, which was nice because they got to know a little bit more about you and your hobbies. And so it's kind of like a nice exchange between presentations with students and the teacher.
That's what I was aiming for. I really wanted them to get to know me a little bit better too.
Let's see. Also, maybe just like my last quick little recommendation was when the countdown isn't working too well, you might want to just stop. Um, I think once you stop, they notice that something's wrong and they kind of self-regulate themselves, which would maybe help or save you some time and just some energy of having to tell them be quiet or trying to get the class back together. But overall, I think you had a great class and everything went well. You pretty much knocked out everything on your agenda. So just a little quick things just to maybe save you some energy next time.
Great, thank you. I really appreciate it, and I'm going to try to start implementing a few of those, those criticisms that you gave me into my classroom.
Yeah,
Thanks.
you're welcome.